The last portion where a lifter might be missing a deadlift is at the very top. It's one that we see very commonly and is not very unique. What this will look like, you might be able to blast the bar off the ground, you might be able to carry it through the midpoint easily, and you get to the lockout and you just can't finish. Either you can't get the shoulders back or you can't bring the hips through to lock out. It also might mean you think you have the strength to finish, but you drop the bar because you lack the grip strength. So the technical cues to try and address this are threefold. The first one is going to make sure that you're firing your hips and glutes to come through the top. If you're thinking about lifting at the low back to try and stand up erect, that's not the way to do it. You need to make sure you're firing your glutes and your hips to bring them through instead of using the back to try and finish. The next would be to discover the timing of locking your knees. You might benefit from locking your knees earlier or later if it's causing you to stick at the lockout. So you may be more beneficial to keep your knees soft and then be the last thing that you finish, or you may find that it's better if you lock your knees early and then finish with your glutes and hips. That's something you're going to have to play around with the timing yourself. Everyone's going to be different on that. And the third technical cue is grip. You can watch the advanced grip video or the hook grip video to find out if there's technical things in there that might help you hang onto the bar a little better. There's 3 movements that I would suggest you do if you're missing deadlifts at the top. The first would be an accommodating resistance deadlift with heavy bands. The beauty in these is that depending on how you set up the bands, the overload at the top of your lift is going to be tremendous. So with free weight, maybe your normal working range is 450 pounds. So that means your lockout is only getting 450 pounds of work with free weight. If you throw the bands on, you may only be getting 300 pounds off the floor, but now at the top, you're dealing with over 550 pounds. So instead of only strengthening the top of your deadlift with 450 pounds, you can add the bands, and now you're practicing with 550 pounds. You take the bands off, you're going to be stronger without them. The next exercise I would recommend would be high block pulls. I would start these block pulls where the bar is just below the knee. It's going to give you an advantage in your starting position because when you pull the bar off of the blocks or off the safety pins in the rack, you're going to be in a nice advantage position. You're going to be able to keep your back very locked in. So once that bar travels past your knees, you should be in the ideal position to lock out, which will ingrain in you using that favored, advantaged position to only allow yourself to use your hips and glutes to finish. You're not going to be able to want to use your low back because it's already going to be in a great position. So it will force you to fire the glutes and the hips to stand up erect. The last movement I would think about if I was missing a deadlift at the top would be an RDL. RDLs are a bread and butter movement for any kind of deadlift. The reason they can be helpful at the top is if you are missing the deadlift at the top because you don't understand the timing of locking the knees and bringing the hips through, the RDLs will force you to find how and when you're the strongest in terms of when to lock your knees and how to fire the hips and glutes to come through and finish your deadlift. Thinking about the muscles on why you may be missing a deadlift at the top, there's 2 primary ones. It would be the upper back and the glutes. The upper back, because you may not be able to create the tightness and rigidity to continue hanging onto the bar. You may lack the upper back tightness to pull the shoulders through at the top to finish the deadlift. The glutes may be weak because you're not understanding how to drive the glutes through to bring the hips through instead of using the low back. So focusing on the muscles for the top of the deadlift, I would hit the upper back and the glutes.